Welcome in to a victory edition of Kickin' It, the first one of the season. I am Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney. Aiden Wyatt is behind the board, also behind the computer, several computers, in fact. He's really just, he puts everything together. He makes everything happen. And then just, hi, he's waving to the YouTube crowd. And then just kind of judges us a little bit. Just like a little bit judgy from the back.
Yeah.
As always, we're brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing. Kelderman.com to get all of your additional tailgating needs or whatever things you want. You probably would have already had an edition of tailgating. Many of you did. Went up to Ames. Beautiful tailgating weather. A little hot for the game by the time the game actually got there. But if you need anything to update that, or whether it's your camper, truck, trailer, Kelderman.com. Grant, I really like your hardware that you got right there.
It's nice, Jeff. Clones will be bringing it. They'll be bringing it back home, back to Ames, its rightful home.
For the audio listeners, that is it's a tiny replica of the current Cyhawk Trophy. Were you the one on the steel triple overtime game? Were you the one that had it and then it got ripped? Like was it you and Farn that had it ripped off?
Me, Farn, and Hammerschmidt. But it wasn't this. It was
the one that they just
wood box
super glued.
That someone made in the garage. Yeah,
they super glued a football on top of.
Yeah, it just like two wooden stakes that made into a V. They spray painted gray, put the football in there, and
said, "Here you go."
A deflated football, and here you go. This is yours now.
Yeah. Still trophy. And that was a victory that we got to have.
It was a sweet victory nonetheless.
Sweet victory nonetheless, even though the trophy itself wasn't that good. Iowa State playing a trophy game this week. But before we get to the Iowa State-Iowa game, we are also brought to you by the Iowa State trip to Ireland by Aer Lingus. We're going to get more into that at least a little bit later in the show. First off, broad take, like what are your kind of takeaways? Not necessarily instant reaction takeaways because it was Saturday. We're recording this Monday night. What are your feelings now having a day to sleep on it about Iowa State's win over North Dakota?
First off, I want to take it back before the game. I did a nice little golf outing Friday before the game.
I did that last year, and they didn't invite me back, which it's malarkey.
Yeah,
what it is.
They said they liked me a lot better. Sorry, Jeff. The guys at Alpha Gamma Rho, so the ag fraternity at Iowa State. I golfed with Kevin, who organized it. Craig and Brian, some good guys. We shot 10 under, so
that's good.
Pretty well.
As best ball. It's not just you. You didn't shoot 10 under.
Yeah, no, I didn't, but I actually shot pretty well. I'm not a very good golfer. I'm not a bad golfer.
Like above average.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah, we had a good time. I gave a nice little speech afterwards, and that was that.
Did you promise a 60-point victory?
No, but I did say that North Dakota wasn't very good and we should blow them out. And it wouldn't be an Iowa State Matt Campbell first game without a 14-3 lead over an FCS team to only end up winning 21-3. So I got nothing from that game. I got nothing other than our offense is explosive, and Kyle Conrady is going to be an all-timer.
I don't know how you get the Kyle Conrady as an all-timer. I'm not disagreeing with it.
I got in there 45 minutes early, and I was there at halftime, and I saw him just crush him from 50. That would have been good from 70. And I've seen video of him in practice nailing a 63-yarder with the team rushing at him. Would have been good from 70. So the dude is smooth.
Good.
Big leg on him.
Big leg. So the thing that I kind of took from it, like general broad strokes.
I do have notes.
Okay.
But like
no,
overall,
you don't have. Nope. You've sacrificed. You seated the floor, and this will be just my show for the next 25 minutes. Grant, you can go to the bathroom if you want. Grab a cup of tea. No, so like instant reactions for me were. It always has to fall into the adage of nothing's as good as it seems and nothing's as bad as it seems.
Nope. Pet heads are falling off.
You sold a dead bird to a blind kid? But so nothing's ever as good as it seems. Nothing's ever as bad as it seems. In the nothing's ever as bad as it seems, because that feels like the where most people's, at least in the sort of conversation that I've had with people, is that the rush defense was less ideal than you'd want, because obviously time of possession. So I've got stats pulled up. Time of possession, 37-51 for North Dakota, 22-09 for Iowa State. That is a wild discrepancy, which is kind of charged by a couple things. One is the fact that Iowa State scored so damn fast.
38 seconds, I think it was.
Which incredible catch right out of the gate.
I called it.
You did.
And thank you, Taylor Mauser, listening to our show. Thank you, Taylor.
Mauser, we're big fans. Big fans.
Yep.
We know you're listening because the only reason you took a shot down the field is because Grant told you to.
I will say, maybe next week don't try that. This week don't try that, because Iowa might pick that up.
But they also do Iowa's. We're going to get into Iowa in a second. Not a second. Several minutes before we actually get to Iowa. But the run so it was the time of possession was really weird because Iowa State, two of their 3 touchdown drives were 2.5 minutes or less. It was after the 12-minute drive, they go right down. I think it was like 8 plays, scored a touchdown, and then right out of the gate, they score one in 38 seconds. Like those 2 touchdown drives combined 3 minutes, and North Dakota has the ball for 12.5 minutes and gets a field goal out of it. So that really skews time of possession. It also really it made it seem like the game was closer than it really was. So Iowa State averaged, let me pull this up, 7.4 yards per play, and that includes kneel downs, quarterback sneak into the end zone, negative plays. We didn't have a lot. I think they had, 6 negative plays? 2 negative plays. They had 2 plays. North Dakota had 2 tackles for loss. There were 2 plays that went backwards out of 40 that they ran.
And I think one of them, I'm not sure if this counted or not, but one of them, Abu went to the left, wasn't there, tried to cut back right, wasn't anything there, and he just kind of
for like a 1-yard loss.
Yeah.
Something like that. So the offense was efficient. They ran for 3.9 a carry, again, which includes kneel downs, and it includes a quarterback sneak for a foot. So the statistics on this, it's just weird. Like the stats are weird. In the nothing's ever as bad as it seems. Well, I want to start with the run defense and we'll move on from there. So the takeaways that I got are that Iowa State was not expecting North Dakota to be as physical as they were. I think that was a pretty obvious right. Caleb Bacon being out doesn't help because he is the most physical second-level player by a good bit.
Also on their long drive, that came after he got hurt, and he is the one on defense who is getting...
He's the headset mic.
Yeah. So the defense looked a little discombobulated. 1, 2, he was out. McLaughlin's out.
McLaughlin's out and Brzezina's out.
Brzezina's out, and Carson Wilcher's out. So you have 4 guys that would have played in this game, which I'm not trying to make excuses, but those are 4 of your top 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah.
And linebacker is, on the defense, already one of the thinner positions. So, we're going to have, again, we'll get to Iowa, but we'll have to have some guys step up.
Yeah.
But I think
who knows what the Brzezina and McLaughlin situation is. I mean, I would imagine Caleb Bacon's probably out. We don't know. Nothing's officially been correct, Aiden. Yeah, nothing's been confirmed.
He'll be, he could have torn his ACL. He could need amputation, or he could have just sprained his knee. Either way, we know that when Matt Campbell meets the press this week, he'll be day to day.
Yep. His leg could have been blown off by a grenade.
Yes.
Day to day. He might, we'll see how he goes and see if his recovery's good, and we'll check in on Thursday.
We probably won't know what's really going on with him until mid-December.
Yeah. Sometime towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But defensively, so I don't think they were as ready for North Dakota's physicality as they were, and the fact that the linebackers run fits, because they were hodgepodging linebackers. Like Sadowski was playing out of position. He's normally, I believe, the Will, and he was playing Mike, or vice versa. So he's normally not that position. So a lot of the run fits, he was in the slightly in the wrong spot, or whoever was in there, whether it was Lovett or whomever, they were slightly in the wrong spot because, like we said, there's 4 guys that you would reasonably be counting on. Now, granted, Willick has been out for a while, but those other 3 guys you would expect to see them in. And on that 12.5-minute drive, there was one play where Lovett made the right read, got in the backfield, missed a tackle.
Yeah, tackling was bad. I will say that.
Tackling wasn't as ideal.
A lot of arm tackles.
So first off was the physicality they weren't expecting. I think defensive line wise, that's one where Coach Rashid is going to be able to say, hey, your pad level and your angle of attack meaning like you should be at a 45-degree angle with your hands on the offensive player trying to push them back or meet their force. They were more at like a 20-degree angle. They were pretty upright, which even a guy like Dom Orange, who you expect more of, a lot of times early in the game when they were just sort of like actually starting and kind of feeling out what was going on, was getting either pushed back or pushed sideways based on the double teams that North Dakota had. So it was more physical than they wanted, and the linebackers weren't fitting as cleanly as they wanted. And then by the time Iowa State kind of caught up to what was going on, that's when Freeler and Verdun started playing a lot more downhill, a lot more aggressive. You kind of saw it midway through the drive and then into the second half that Bo was involved in a lot of plays, because Bo then had to become sort of the eraser for any of the run game fits that weren't right. So that was, I think, didn't expect the physicality. Linebackers were just kind of slightly in the wrong spot. And then the third thing is you got to give props to North Dakota. Like, that scheme-wise was really good. If you're going to move this offense, you have to double team and move the 3 down front, or the 3 down linemen in front. You have to move them. You can't just have a stalemate. You have to move them, and they did. And the second thing is, to their credit, Iowa State plays a 3-3-5. They tend to give more space than like the adage of bend but don't break. That's kind of it's, to me, it feels a little bit like it's an overused cliche, but they're going to give you space. They're going to give you things underneath and say, at some point, you're going to get a holding call. You're going to have a pass tipped and intercepted. At some point, you're going to overthrow one out of bounds. At some point, you're going to have a running back miss a read and try and cut something back, and now you're 3rd and 14. North Dakota, on efficiency-wise, let me pull up the actual hold on. Cumulatives. Efficiency, third downs, they were 11 for 20.
Which is way too many.
Way too many. But on third and longs, they were 0 for 7.
What is long?
6 plus. So they were 0 for 7 on anything 6 yards or more.
And I think if I can interrupt you for a second, I think that goes back to...
I said it was my show for the next 25 minutes.
Yep, sorry. I'm back. That goes back to giving up too many yards on first down, which if you give up even 2 yards on first down, 3 yards on first down, then that, if they keep chipping away, then you're not at a 3rd and 6, you're at a 3rd and 3, which is obviously more manageable to pick up.
So they were 4.8 yards per play on first down. North Dakota was, which is way too many.
Yeah.
But the reason why you credit North Dakota is, or why I kind of want to, as far as schematically, is in order to beat this Iowa State team, they're going to give you everything underneath. They're going to let it play in front of them, and they're going to tackle it. They're going to let it play in front of them, and they're going to tackle it. Run fits and physicality is one thing. They need to be better there, especially on first down, which is coachable. Eli Rashid and Coach Haycock and everybody there is going to give them a nice solid ass chewing to get motivation a little bit better. So I have full confidence that that's going to improve as far as how they attack everything, being in the right spot. But also, North Dakota just executed. If I'm going to give you everything underneath, their average, so they were 11 for 20 on third down. Their average yards gained on those third down plays was 3.8 yards. Converted a lot of them. So what they were doing is on that 23 play, 12.5-minute drive is Iowa State dared them to execute all the way down the field, and they kind of did. And that's the way you beat this defense, is if you're going to beat Iowa State's defense, and when they're playing a 3-3-5, it's patience, and it's execution, and it's little tiny bit, little tiny bit, little tiny bit, little tiny bit, little tiny bit. Where teams struggle is when they try and go, it's the 9th play of the drive. Come on, guys, we got to score. And they try and take a big shot down the field. It gets batted down. It gets picked. Now you're 2nd and 10. You have to run something a little bit weird. It doesn't do it. They just said, we're going to take 3.5 yards of play every single time, all the way down the field. And then they executed. They had another fun statistic is nullified plays. So like if I had a 20-yard pass that gets called back, then they just say like, theoretically, this is how many yards you would have had if penalties didn't happen. They had no nullified yards. They had 1 turnover, which was on a really nice rush by Klosterman. Right, it was a punt to Bo. But that's pretty much it as far as negative play. So just North Dakota played the boring offense that allows you to succeed against this defense, still got 3 total points. So it's never as good as it seems, it's never as bad as it seems. Rush defense has to be better. Linebacker fits, physicality have to be better. But I don't think you're going to see a team that's willing to be that patient and then also execute on it that many times, including, I don't think Iowa City, they tend to be a little bit more impatient where they're going to try and take a shot downfield when they shouldn't.
Yeah, and I think, too, that you saw the adjustments. Obviously, Iowa State's always been a second-half team. It's tougher to plan for a quarterback that you don't have any film on. And this guy, running quarterbacks have always been Iowa State's Achilles heels. That if the guy scrambles, then you've got the 3 guys or down linemen who are locked up. You got your linebackers who might have floated back. There's, like you said, there's a lot of openings. The 5 defensive backs are gone. So running quarterbacks have always been tough. And so props to that guy for noticing that and then taking off and getting the first down. But yeah, I feel like they did execute, and I'm not a defensive guy. I don't read. I'm a kicker. I don't know how to.
You guys did tackling practice. Rhodes had you do tackling practice.
Yeah, and then when it comes to game, I'm an ankle biter. I'm not gonna. I did try to tackle one guy at Nebraska 2009. I tried to form tackle, and I got a stinger just top of my helmet right to the side of his hip. And to this day, if I do shrugs in the gym, I just feel like
that's not good.
No, it's not. And Yancey told me, don't worry about it. It'll go away. Hasn't gone away. No.
Hasn't.
So I'm not a defensive guy. I don't really, I can't see, I can't read a defense and say, oh, that's 2-man coverage. Whatever. You can, though. So what I thought I saw was that Iowa State didn't run anything fancy. Stayed in like the same defense all game, blitzed 2 or 3 times, got 2 sacks, and Klosterman forced a pick. Other than that, it was just a base defense. I don't know if they ran the 4-down lineman either. If they did, I didn't see it.
They didn't run. They ran. So I listened, Aiden, a little bit to you and Brunzy's show. I wasn't driving around all that much today and just didn't have a lot of time to listen to it. But one of the things that Ben said is that they did play a 4-down front.
I must have missed it.
Which is kind of. So they were still in their 3-3-5 personnel grouping, but they aligned like they were in a 4-down. So
like brought a linebacker?
They brought a linebacker down.
I'm not counting that.
So they brought a linebacker down, but the way they set it up then was where you have 5 shade 3-5, meaning outside the tackle, just off the guard, just off the other side of the guard, just off the other side of the other tackle. They ran that, so 5 shade 3-5, and then 2 linebackers in the box. But you're playing with, I think it was Tyler Onyedum, I think might have been the guy that was then playing the 3 technique, which we had. If you want to listen to what a 3 technique and a shade is, just go back, listen to a couple episodes ago. But it's the more athletic of the 2 interior linemen. He's kind of that, but he's a better defensive end than he is a 3 technique. If there's anybody that's going to float in there, I think Kennard Snyder at times also played that position.
His sack was nice.
Yeah, so
quick.
But they're defensive ends. I think if you're talking about what the 4-down looks like, it's to get Zamir Hawk, Big Citrus, J.R. Singleton, is to get those guys in at the same time, because that
2 of those 3?
2 of those 3 at any one given time, because the reason for running a 4-down, and like Ben talked about on it was on the Iowa Everywhere show, and what's the actual name of that show? Cyclone Sunday. So the whole point of that is that with the 3-down look, the defensive linemen are trying to occupy multiple gaps, because there's the spaces between offensive linemen, that's a gap. And so if I'm head up with the center, I've got his left and his right. I've got 2 gaps that I'm responsible for. If there's a particular play that sends me one direction or the other, then I have to play that. But I also sometimes am just looking up and saying, oh, they're blocking to my right shoulder. They're probably trying to run that way. I need to fight into that. And so you're kind of reacting as opposed to imposing. So what the 4-down tends to be, and Iowa being an exception, is I'm responsible for the A gap on the left side, and that's it. And I'm going to try and plug that and force that backwards. Well, that's way better done when you have Singleton, Orange, Zamir Hawk. One of those guys is a much better gap filler, gap stuffer play wrecker than an Onyedum is to play inside. He's going to be better playing outside as a defensive end to be a little bit more in space, use your length, use your athleticism. So I don't think that you can count the fact that Iowa State, quote, had a 4-down look, because they ran it with 44. Or 47 is Ebel.
Yeah,
I think Ebel was 44 was the one
Ellis.
that was playing. Ellis was the one that playing the quote defensive end position, one of the 5s, and then Ebel and I think it was Sadowski were playing the interior linebackers in the few times they did it. Outside of that, yes, they basically played their normal 3-3-5 front. They sometimes ran a little bit where they brought a safety down to play more, like whether it was Freeler or Verdun, they played them down, which is not abnormal for their look. So I think one other thing that will help against the run is when you're talking, the defensive line has to be more aggressive. They got to, which is nice to see on film, is then Eli Rashid can go, hey, 95. You know what I told you in practice to not stand up because you're strong, but you're not that strong? You can't hold 2 dudes off by yourself? Yeah, that's what pad level does. And you get pushed backwards. And then you be more aggressive. Here's what it looks like. And so that's a big jump they're going to take from week 1 to week 2. But I also think if you're trying to stop the run and you feel like you have an advantage person over person, which I think 3 had a hell of a game, Tez Williams.
He did.
I think Darian Porter had a hell of a game.
He did too.
And Miles Purchase was solid. I think that would be the order I put him in, as 3, 10, then 5, as far as like 1, 2, and 3. All 3 were solid. The secondary altogether was just really good. Like, no questions. Y'all are fine. But I think if you feel like you have an advantage in the secondary and you can get away with not having to play as many linebackers because a lot of them are hurt, and you can play run stuffing personnel inside, I would be surprised if we don't see a true 4-down front, at least some, against Iowa, because it solves a lot of the problems that they have with linebacker depth and also fitting against the run.
That's what I was going to ask you is, are we going to see maybe a 4-2-5? Like,
that's what I would do.
And then have like a Bo or Malik kind of fake like they're a linebacker and
they can play linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
because
They tackle like linebackers.
For me, the linebacker is the thinnest. And I said this, no disrespect to them, because how good the D line and the defensive backs are. Linebacker is probably the weakest group, but they're also the thinnest group now. So I personally think we should lean more into the depth of the D backs and the strength of the D line. I would not be surprised. I hope actually that Iowa State would run more like 4-2-5.
And if they don't, then at this point, I think John Haycock deserves the benefit of the doubt.
He does for sure. And I don't think he listens to the show, but if he does, that's what I would do, John. So,
but hey, Mauser, how's it going, bud? Really like the first couple plays. Let's do more of that. But I think one of the things that we're going to see, so like sort of halfway, just finishing up on the defense against North Dakota, kind of a little thinking forward. Another thing that we saw is kind of the conventional thing that Iowa State normally does, especially early in the season, is they've just rotated a ton of guys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I felt like this game was almost a glorified scrimmage of they were trying to iron out. Iowa State was not going to lose this game.
It never felt like they were either.
No, it was a very boring game, which is what you wanted. And I said that. I said I wanted a very vanilla, don't run anything on defense, run 6 plays on offense. They did that. It was a boring-ass game. I kind of was my own worst critic. I didn't get anything from that. Watching that, do I have any confidence Iowa State's going to beat Iowa? I don't. But I also don't know.
Yeah. So I think so they rotated a lot of guys, which means that like Jamison Patton played a lot. And Malik Verdun took a lot of rest. You know why? Because Malik Verdun needs to be healthy this week. Iowa's best weapon, not close, is Luke Lachey. He's their tight end. He's 6'7", I think, 6'6", 6'7", can run. You know what's nice to play against a 6'6", 6'7" guy who can run? 6'4", 220 that can run. Mm-hmm. And so I think Verdun is going to have a big responsibility this week. So they kind of, like, you're not looking forward, but you're not looking forward. You're acknowledging what is forward. Once you know that this game is pretty much in hand, hey, let's get some other guys in there. Just make sure that we can keep 7 healthy, keep 17 healthy, keep 4 healthy. Bacon had an injury. I'm guessing Samo was just a cramp, and they were just like, hey, we don't need you for the rest of the game. Just go ride the pine.
Bramer was dinged up. He was on a snap count. I don't think he got targeted
once. No, twice. Neither one completed.
But he didn't. I mean, we didn't need him.
Yeah,
didn't keep him healthy. Get out there, run. Don't get hurt.
Yeah, and so let's flip it over to the offense. What are your takeaways for the offense? Because there are some that I've got.
I don't like that Rocco was in late in the game. I will say that. I wish we would have seen JJ or Moberly.
Some for one drive for 38 seconds.
Yeah, but I wish it would have come out, more
Yeah.
Sooner. I would say that the offense passing game is strong. I think we have elite receivers between Higgins and Knoll.
Boy.
I really liked what I saw out of Eli Green too. He is cut from the same cloth as Knoll, and I didn't see Alston out there though.
I didn't either. I mean, I think I know he played, okay. And I know Nagoye played, but they weren't quite on the same page as the other two were.
Yeah. I think if we have those three, if we have Green, Higgins, Knoll, and Bramer out there, nasty little foursome out there. But then you get into the red zone, you got Nagoye and Alston, who are both 6'4", toss it up to him, let him go and make a play.
Yeah.
And Higgins is also 6'3".
This is in the nothing's ever as good as it seems, nothing's ever as bad as it seems. This is on a little bit on the other side of both of those things. So I think a lot of times people were like, you need to run the ball better. I don't know. I've seen the headlines on some of whether it's podcasts or articles or whatever. They ran it for 3.9 a carry. Again, that includes quarterback sneaks, kneel downs. That includes all of that.
And also includes Dylan Lee coming in running for 3 times for 9 yards. I heard Bloom talk about this. If you take all that out, they ran for 4.5.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's a good running game. And one of the reasons why they didn't run the ball that often is because
they ran 48 plays.
They ran 48 plays. And also the way that North Dakota played defense is almost schematically opposite the way that Iowa's going to play, which Iowa is going to invite you to throw the ball onto the slot, your tight ends inside, and also then run the ball. Like they're going to dare you to do that because they're going to play 2 high safeties. Iowa will almost always. You very rarely will ever see not having 2 high, whether that's cover 2, cover 4. Sometimes they'll spin one down, but almost all the time they play like a combo cover 2, cover 4 kind of thing.
Wamka and Schulte be back there.
And those two are back there. They're going to play over top of everything. They're going to trust the guys underneath. They're going to play it. North Dakota played almost exclusively middle closed. Middle closed meaning there's one safety that's in the middle of the field. Where's the other one then? Playing down towards the box, trying to take away the tight ends. It's Klotz or Bramer, whoever, and the running game. They're trying to take that away, which then means you're leaving not necessarily one-on-one, but you're leaving a lot more space again for the wide receivers. So basketball example, Taman Lipsey developed a 3-point shot between his freshman year and his sophomore year.
Dog.
They then, when they sagged off of Taman Lipsey, like 5-7 feet, and they say, I dare you to take the 3. You take the 3.
And he drops his nuts on. I'm like, boom, here them nuts, baby. How like that? And cashes it.
Hey, boom. There's that. So that is what North Dakota was doing with the passing game. And Iowa State didn't try and use this to continue this metaphor. They didn't try and drive into that dude's chest. They said, all right, we'll shoot the 3. And then Rocco was 20 of 26 and had 4 overthrows that were incompletions. So like
then you could see right away. He's like, damn it.
Yeah.
He knew he wanted those back.
Knew he wanted it back. So Rocco was really sharp other than that, like adrenaline overthrows. So he had 6 incompletions, 4 of which could have been completed. So really could have been 24 for 26 for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, two passing, 1 rushing.
The first throw of the game was an absolutely horrible decision, but it worked out. It's going to be the play of the year. That was going to be the catch of the year.
Screw it. Jalen's down there somewhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, and he made a hell of a play on it. And then, wasted no time and boop to Higgins. I love it, though. That was tempo. And I was there with my father-in-law, and he goes, does Iowa State always run this slow? I said, I feel like they have in the last few years. And we'll talk about Iowa, but I think one key to beating Iowa is tempo, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. And so the other thing, as far as the nothing's ever as good as it seems, nothing's ever as bad as it seems, in the nothing's ever as bad as it seems, run game was better than people are giving it credit for. Like I said, they had 2 plays that went backwards at all. North Dakota had 2 TFLs, period. So everything is productive forward yards for the most part. Even if it's 2 or 3, is way better than -2 or -3.
And not every run is going to be a 12-yard gasher.
Where he hops over somebody, which was just sick. That was the 3rd offensive play.
Yeah.
What a way to start, too. Yeah. Jalen catch off some dude's helmet. Higgins toasting the corner like a marshmallow and catching touchdown. And then Abu jumping over somebody. Those are the first 3 offensive plays. Great start.
Yeah, we're never going to be stopped. I thought for sure we're going to put up 49.
And then 12 and a half minutes.
Yes.
But the running game was fine. And I think in the nothing's ever as good as it seems, Rocco and Jalen and Jaden were really, really, really good. You're not going to see that space against Iowa because of how they run their defense. It's like I said, it's 2 deep safeties, and then their corners, they play kind of like cover 2, kind of like cover 4. It's like a really deep cover 2 with just different rules. And then like a guy like Castro, who had the pick 6 last year, he plays underneath anything in the flats. Like they're not going to have that like seam ripper that Higgins hit 2 or 3 times and that Noel caught for a touchdown, meaning a seam is if there's 3 guys deep, the seam is the space between them. If one guy's on the numbers,
like a skinny post.
Yeah. If one guy's in the numbers, one guy's in the middle field, another guy's in the numbers, the space between them is a seam. That's where you want to throw the ball to. And every defense has them. It's just easier to access when the guy runs a perfect route and you can deliver a really good ball. They won't see that type of space, but what you will see is you're going to have matchups. Like a thing that I'm really excited. So like, I want to finish up North Dakota, then we'll move on to Iowa.
Yep.
I think the things you can take away are that Rocco, it took another step forward this year. You could tell he was really, really confident. And also and then between 13 and 9, they know where Rocco wants them to be. And when you know where the quarterback wants you, whether it's sit down, the whole run versus man and sit versus zone, that concept of if it's man-to-man coverage, try and run away from the guy who's running with you and just be faster. If it's zone, you don't want to run yourself into coverage. So whether it's man or zone, run versus man, sit versus zone, they know that. And then it goes more in depth than that of, okay, if it's zone, what zone is it? And where is the vacancy in that zone? Go there, and I'm going to throw it to you. And if I see the same thing as the quarterback that you do as the wide receiver, then it becomes like, holy shit, how do you get so wide open? Is because they understand where the other one is. So that is a total takeaway. Run game is fine. Offensive line, in the limited amount of run snaps that they had, sometimes North Dakota just blitzed themselves lucky. I think run game looked fine. Like, I have no complaints or questions about the offense. Very few complaints or questions about the offense.
Yeah, I was really pleased with the offense. I thought special teams played really well too. I mean, almost a flawless game. Conradi was perfect on PATs. Gilbert had some nice punts. He had one down at the 2, which was perfect. Porter did his job, went down to the goal line, found the ball. Every time in practice when we were there, you'd hear Coach Rhodes, find the ball! Find the ball! And he did. And I yelled, I was Paul in the crowd. I said, Porter, find the ball! And he did. And then my guy T-Perk, Perk pound cheer for the punter. He great punts as well too. I will say though that long snapper. We should never know who the long snapper's name is. Got to tighten up a little bit. We had one, maybe two blocked last year versus Iowa. One for sure.
Two.
Yeah. So you better believe.
No, it was at Kinnick 2 years ago.
Yeah, you better believe that Iowa's going to be coming after us. Going to be coming after the punter. So I'm curious to see what they do on that. If they speed up the operation time, if they put another shield guy back there, if they try to do like a rollout or some type of different kind of schematically. I don't know, but I feel like punting needs to be flawless for us. For Iowa State to have a chance versus Iowa. But I feel like special teams was for the most part, and even like the return game. They only had 2 kick returns, and I don't think we really did much.
There's four kickoffs, all touchbacks.
Yep. I mean, like for us, like Iowa State didn't like return. Yeah. I thought Jalen had a nice punt return, kicking towards the north end zone.
Yep.
I think field position will be huge next week, but yeah, overall, I was happy with special teams.
Favorite statistic of the year, hidden yardage.
Give it to me.
All right, what do you got? Let's go Aiden first. What's your guess? Hidden yardage.
Describe it one more time for any of those new listeners.
So it's basically how far away from your own end zone are you? Like how you can whether frame it of how far you have to go or how far away from your own end zone are you. It's basically the difference between if I'm team A and Grant is team B, and every possession, and I've got 10 possessions, and I start them all on the 30-yard line, and Grant starts his on the 20-yard line for 10 possessions, and I start mine on the 30-yard line for 10 possessions, then I'm 10 yards on average ahead of him for over the course of 10 drives, which means I have 100 less yards to gain to get to the end zone. So he has 100 more yards. So if statistically we're, quote, even, but hidden yards, I have 100 extra hidden yards, that might be why you go, oh, wow, that game never felt close. So hidden yardage, using this calculation from our own end zone. So if you get the ball on the 25, so 75 yards to go towards the end zone, then that's just use the number of 25. So the difference between the two is hidden yardage. All right. Hidden yards.
I'm going to lowball it. 45.
Grant?
45 for who?
Sorry, Iowa State. Plus 45 for Iowa State.
Well, you think the interceptions play a part in it. They also started a drive on the 2 or 3 yard line. I'm going to say Iowa State was plus. I'm going to say 98.
Plus 21.
Ah, shoot.
That's why that game was super boring.
Yeah, Aiden.
It never.
Roses to you.
Yeah, it never really felt like. So the furthest.
I'm rusty, man. Jeepers.
The furthest away from their goal line. So the closest to the end zone that they had. Swammy. There was one play. And the reason why you have to. Iowa State did have a closer one where they started on the opposing 32, but they were just taking a knee. So we got to throw that one out. Just because you're not trying to score. But anyway, they started on their own, Iowa State did, on their own 25, 24, 20, own 35, own 39, their own 4, their own 20. And then North Dakota started in 25, 23, their own 3, 25, 25, 12, 25, 8. So neither team really had that much of an advantage. So next week, better in hidden yardage.
Yes.
So going into Iowa, before we get to Iowa, is a reminder. Aer Lingus, if you are looking to get to...
You say Conolingus?
No. Why? They're paying money to get their name out in front.
Hassel said it too.
Aer Lingus. It's an Irish airline.
I can say that. I'm from the homeland.
Oh yeah, Mahoney. You're very.
I'm not, but my grandpa's father is. My great grandpa, that'd be.
There are 3 different packages with Aer Lingus. If you go to Cyclones, the number 2 Ireland.com, there's the hospitality package, the travel package only, which I believe is just logistics and a little bit of lodging. Not going to be a lot of events. And then the Drive Ireland package, which is a lot more touristy. So if you go to, again, Cyclones, the number 2 Ireland.com, you get more information on the trip next year. I would start booking those sooner rather than later because you don't want to be somebody who either gets left out and there's no seats available, or there's like 2 seats available and then they do supply and demand and all of a sudden you've got a $4,000 plane ticket.
Yeah, as I was going to say, I'm sure that the price will go up, the closer we get to the game.
Another thing, we want to thank our friends at the Iowa Pork Producers Association. Whenever we go out to LeClaire, there are 2 pork producers that I always just have a conversation with about like the specifics of
bacon,
of
A bacon.
No, not Caleb Bacon.
No, bacon, greasy kind you eat.
I'm not as much of a bacon guy. I like it. Don't
The
tell me.
hell's wrong with
Don't
you?
tell me. I'm a big ham guy. Big ham guy. Okay with bacon. Disapproving thumbs down from Aiden. Oh, that's a disapproving thumbs down.
Okay, well, do you eat bacon?
Yeah, I do.
How do you like your bacon?
Depends. If is the thick cut stuff. I'm
You
big.
got first off, you got to go thick cut.
Big
the only
thick
way.
cut guy.
That's the
I'll
only
take
way
it.
to eat
Okay, I will take that back. Big thick cut guy.
You want it
Thick
more? You want it more like jerky? You want it still flimsy?
little crispy. It should be able to bite through it, kind of break it off a little bit. Not necessarily smoked. You ever done smoked bacon?
No, I haven't.
Candied smoked bacon.
No,
Oh, my dad will do candied smoked bacon.
You
That
get too
is
fancy now, man. I just want the bacon in my mouth.
A plus.
Toss it in the
But
oven.
if
Toss
it's
it in the
just
oven.
if it's just like your Hormel bacon that you're just getting, kind of thin, just whatever, crispy.
Okay. You keep your bacon grease?
No.
You should.
Why?
Cook your eggs in that.
I mean, I'll cook my egg. I'm not like once you're done cooking all your breakfast.
No, you
then
strain it. You strain it. You put some water in there, and then everything that floats to the top, you just drain out and keep the fat and use that. It's like tallow, but for pork.
It's just a pork tallow.
Yeah.
Tallow.
No, I was gonna say pork tallow.
Pork tallow. Anyway.
Sorry, continue.
Okay, so no, it was just I was thanking the Iowa Pork Producers Association. You just hijacked it. I'm not anti-bacon. I'm just saying like
Jeff hates
ham
Jeff hates
and
bacon,
thick cut bacon, definitely. The thin cut bacon, it's some at home, it's more trouble than it's worth. And also, would you have a nice peppery pork sausage or bacon? You're getting a breakfast sandwich. It's going to be on English muffin. You got egg, cheese, and what's the meat that you're going with?
It's bacon all day, every day.
See,
I mean,
here's the thing, though.
I'm
That'll either crunch too much, and then you're just getting this like nothing but bacon grease flavor, versus like a nice peppery pork sausage.
I enjoy a nice pork sausage. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just very pro sausage.
yeah. If I'm I don't do this very often. If I ever go to Casey's and get a breakfast pizza, it's sausage all day with a gravy sauce. I'm not doing a bacon. It's too salty. It's a sausage for me there. But if I'm doing home, I'll do like an English muffin where I'll do egg, cheese. Usually I'll do sausage then because it's just easier to cook a sausage than is bacon. And
there you go. So there is an advantage. There is an advantage. I'm not anti-bacon. I'm just saying I prefer sausage.
I prefer bacon.
Big ham guy. Also, you get a nice cut of like just a thick cut ham, like from our friends at Fairway too. Just like a
honey
nice
roasted
fat, or the cherrywood smoked ham.
Nice.
Put a little sear on top of that, a little brown sugar. Oh, that's well done.
Yeah.
That's really what I would do.
I make a nice spiral ham, like for Easter.
Do you just use do you actually like spiralize the whole thing?
No, it's already it's already spiralized, and then like every so often you just kind of baste the juices between the spirals. Nice and juicy.
Yes, them not juicy beans.
Nothing better than nice juicy ham.
So Iowa State plays at Kinnick on Saturday. Is it 1 o'clock kickoff?
2:30.
2:30 kickoff.
Great
time.
time.
And it's on CBS. Oh, I am
great
pumped.
time to go to the dentist.
I am absolutely pumped. At 2:30. I'm not going to acknowledge that.
Yeah, you missed it.
No, I didn't. I'm choosing to miss your 2:30 joke. The fact that Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson are, because they're the ones that are still they were re-upped for CBS. Yes, I'm Nessler and Danielson.
Hell, fine.
Aiden, you want to look? To me, that is college football.
Yeah.
Is Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson. CBS does such a good job in
their production is nice.
The production's really good. Like that, I think this is a not for nothing. I think a lot of the reason why people voted the SEC when it was like the BCS era and like then you have this sort of AP and whatever. Yeah, they were good, but also the production quality makes the event look way better. Like if there's 2 cameras and they're shooting it from a parking lot, it's like, who are these schmucks? Yeah. And they could be a really good team, but it just makes it doesn't look as nice. And I think CBS, as far as college game, and then I would say CBS, then Fox, their big noon kickoff and their FS1 broadcast. And then I would say the ESPN ABC would be my tier 3.
CBS is, I would even say that CBS
Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, and Jenny Dell, boy, just so good.
I would say CBS's production, even for college basketball, is like top tier.
Yeah. So it's just CBS is really good. They don't do a zillion games. They just spend a lot of resources on doing a few really well. So anyway, there's also going to be a story on Rocco and the Perry community that they shot at the Cyclone Fanatic We Will event when Rocco had his camp there. So that's going to air, I believe, right before the game, I think. So tune in a little bit early. So if you have your DVRs set, if there is a pregame, just make sure you record whatever's ahead of it. But anyway, I'm super pumped because I'm not going out to Coralville.
No, I was going to ask you to go to the game.
No,
I don't.
No, do you remember when we got our bus peed on? I don't know if you were on the same bus.
They didn't get peed on, but they were throwing shit at our bus.
Yeah, there was a drunk guy who just peed on the tire of a bus, and and what's funny is that like you're not wearing like Iowa State jumpsuits and stuff. Like it could have been the Iowa bus. The windows are like black.
Well, it has we have the Iowa State thing like in the door that opens.
Oh yeah,
like a little.
So maybe it just was. I'm not giving that guy that much credit.
Just a bunch of jackwagons over there, man.
But anyway,
worst fans in America.
It's a fun environment though. That's one of my because there's so much that like the Emperor Palpatine is. I can feel your hatred like that. You can feel the angst and just irritation between the fan bases. I always loved playing at Kinnick.
If you say angst, I say scum. I can just feel the scum.
Okay,
get me out of this.
There are nice people.
Fish smelling town.
There are nice people.
Don't say that, Jeff. No one's gonna listen. You can say a bunch of jackasses. They threw a full beer can at a pregnant lady.
It's true they did. But for the actual game itself, you mentioned kind of didn't have a ton of confidence, but you didn't have not confidence. You're sort of like a let's see what happens.
And now that I'm thinking about that, walking through my head, Iowa's offense, sure, they put up 40 points. They put up 34 in the second half, which is the most they've put up in a half since 2017. Not going to happen again anytime soon. I'm not convinced that McNamara is a good quarterback. They've got a receiver, Reese Vanderzee, is a true freshman. Big win for them. Had Iowa State's wide receiver room not been as loaded as they are, he would be in Cardinal and Gold. He had a good game for him. He had 2 touchdowns. Caleb Brown, the Ohio State transfer, didn't do anything last year, but supposedly
towards the end of the year he did.
Yeah, supposedly he's.
But their offensive scheme last year was fine. They just executed like ass.
Supposedly he's their saving grace. He was serving a 1-game OWI suspension. Kirk Ferentz was also serving a suspension, so he'll be back for the game.
I don't think it matters.
No, they didn't.
The head coach day of.
Yeah,
as long as you have like a reasonable communicate, that didn't matter.
Lachey will be the go-to guy.
100%.
That, like you said, Verdon will be that matchup will be the X factor of the game. I'll say that Illinois State, they weren't that good. I mean, they were. I would say they're on the same level, maybe just below on North Dakota. North Dakota did beat them last year for what it's worth, but I know those teams aren't the same. I did notice something kind of interesting though. They had Jake Rubley as their backup quarterback, who, if you remember, he is the quarterback that transferred from high school, Colorado, to Valley during COVID when Colorado wasn't playing high school football. Went to Valley, committed to K-State, a 4-star guy. Didn't do anything there. Now he's at Illinois State. Didn't do anything for him, but yeah, I saw that and I thought that's kind of interesting.
I think so. This is my take on Iowa State, Iowa. Is a couple things that Iowa State's going to have to adjust / do. Defensive line and linebackers must be better, because if the only way that Iowa wins the game is if they're able to make it a slop fest and or a field position battle that you have to, like it's Iowa State wants it to be, for those wrestling fans, and Aiden, you can appreciate this. Iowa State wants the match or the game to be like a 125 wrestling match, where there's a lot of action, a lot of shots happening, a lot of trying stuff and moving around. And Iowa wants it to be a heavyweight matchup.
Sumo wrestling matchup.
It's all just position and
grabbing diapers.
Nope, not. It's heavyweight wrestling. They're not
wrestling.
No, actual wrestling.
Wrestling.
But anyway, they want it to be smack you. Aiden, can you just cut his mic for a second? He's trash talking wrestling.
Wrestling.
Take that, Grant. But anyway, I think the way that Iowa State that Iowa wins the game is if they're able to slow it down and muddy it up. And their defense is very capable of doing that if Iowa State lets them. But it's more Iowa's offense. It was 6-0 at halftime, and they scored 34 points in the second half. That's not typical. I wouldn't expect that for most of the games throughout the season, but Iowa will always score more points in the second half than the first because they want to lean on you. They want you to feel the physicality again and again and again and again. And with Torrey Taylor last year, they could put you on your own 6 from no matter where you were on the field, and you have to feel the end zone, and you have to feel their physicality. You got to punt it back, and they're not going to do jack on offense, but you're going to be back on the 6-yard line and and everything is just pressure and pressure and pressure. And that's what they did to Illinois State.
Not so fast, my friend. This punter is not Torrey Taylor.
He's not Torrey Taylor.
And he did not have a very good game. I think we need to bring the house to this little freshman Aussie.
But what they want to do is they want to make you feel the pressure of the game, and then once you're tired, and this is sort of what they did last year, is that they ran that play action pass, and I think Lachey caught it for like 40 yards or something like that, and then Jay-Z and Patterson scored like 2 plays later. Like that type of thing, they want to feel the weight of the game and then crack. So what Iowa State's run defense and the defensive line and linebackers have to be better than they were last week, which I have confidence they will be because it's an execution thing, not a personnel thing. It's not like they don't have the dudes to do it. They just need to be better.
Yeah, and I mean, Iowa's offense, yeah, they put up 40 points, but they're still booty cheeks, man. Like Caleb Johnson had 118 or so yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Of those 118 yards, 64 of them came home on 1 play, and he was the third string running back going.
Well, he was
into
a third string running back because he had a suspension for the first half.
So
he was suspended. He's their number 1 player. He's their number 1 back.
You doofus. What is this guy doing getting suspended?
I don't know.
What the hell's going on in Iowa City?
He's their number 1 back. So Caleb Johnson's going to be your number 1 back. Luke Lachey is going to be your number 1 wide receiver. Caleb Brown is going to be a guy that they're going to try and match up. But I would imagine defensively in the secondary, I don't have questions because Verdun and or Freeler are going to be matched up against Lachey. I would take Tez Washington or John Tez over Caleb Brown. Brown will win 1 or 2 here or there.
That'll be the matchup, and then Porter and
Vanderzee. And and Purchase will be in there kind of off and on between the bunch. The safeties, I don't have any question over. The corners, I don't have any question over. It's the box. Can Iowa State in the box make sure that Iowa doesn't have success? The second thing that needs to happen is not exactly like what you're not going to get away with running a 54-yard contested ball down the middle of the field. Like Wongpa or Schulte is going to pick that ball off. But if you get out to a 14-0 lead, a 14-3 lead, 21-3 lead, something like that, because you are, again, it's a 125 wrestling match instead of a heavyweight wrestling match. Iowa doesn't have the drop back and sling it that they used to when they had guys like Ricky Stanzi or like a guy like Bethard. They don't have that. So they don't, and it's really, they don't have the guys to throw to make that happen. So
I would take our defensive back if they were to hook
right.
I would take our defensive backs. I feel like I'm probably biased in this, are better athletes than the receivers.
Wide receivers. Yes. So you have to make the game go that way, because if the game is slugfest, stand on the 50-yard line and just trade punches, Iowa probably wins that game because their defense is so goddamn good. Like, as much as you don't want to compliment Coralville, they probably have 6 NFL draft picks on that defense right now, and that doesn't count the guys that are young enough that we haven't seen enough of. But between Wongpa and Schulte and Graves and Black and Higgins, like they are really good.
Yeah, I mean,
so you have to take advantage of it, get out to a lead, not let them just sit and just absorb your passing attempts and have Castro play underneath and pick something off. You have to get out to a lead, make the offense stretch, and then you be the one that dictates the tempo.
Getting out to a lead is going to be, it's easier said than done. I mean, I would be surprised if we have more than 50 yards rushing.
I would be surprised if there's not. They will have more than 50 yards rushing.
And Rocco may throw it 40 times.
Yeah,
because their defensive line, Aaron Graves had 4 tackles, 3 of them were sacks.
Yep.
Which again, it's Illinois State, so it's take it for what it's worth. But Jay Higgins is
he might be the best linebacker in America.
He's All-American. Schulte and Wamka are back there and they're good. Castro is good. I mean, yeah, like you said, they're good all over. Their defense is top 5 in the country for a reason. So I think I want us to go deep. I want us to try. I want us to test their D-backs, but don't force it like we did the very first play of the game.
I think the thing that you're going to get the advantage or the capacity to do that's different in the back to the nothing's ever as good as it seems, nothing's ever as bad as it seems segment. The thing you're going to be able to have the chance to do is, I think, the people that are going to have a bigger game this week than last week. Playing North Dakota, Iowa State was actually pretty frequently in 12 personnel, meaning 1 running back, 2 tight ends. Between Steve-O and Bramer, or Burkle was out there a lot. He had a pretty decent game.
He had a really good game.
Burkle has come a long way.
Yep.
I was pretty low on Burkle a couple years ago, but he has come a long way. Tyler Moore was out there a decent amount to spell clots. But they were in 12 personnel a lot. I don't think that that's your best recipe for success against Iowa. I think your best personnel grouping is more of an 11 personnel where you have 1 running back and then 1 tight end, whether that's Bramer or Klotz or whomever. And then you've got Eli Green or Jalen Knoll as a slot receiver. So you have Bramer in 1 slot and whoever the other slot is between Green and Knoll. The slots are going to be really big against Iowa because the vacancies against a cover 3, a middle close look like North Dakota played. Odd numbers are generally middle closed. It's not for nothing. But against cover 2, they have, instead of that safety being down like North Dakota had to try and play the run, Wampa and Schulte are deep. So there is space underneath them where you can throw. The linebackers play underneath it, but I would take Jalen Knoll over Jay Higgins in a one-on-one passing setup. And
sure.
Ben Bramer versus Higgins, those are matchups you can win. Bramer and Castro, height-wise, Castro's a good cover guy. He's sort of their nickel. But, like, underneath interior routes for, like, 11 yards. That's the type of, like, Deshaunte Jones. That guy has the capacity to have a big game against Iowa, unless you have a dude like Jaden Higgins, who they're going to play one-on-one Riley Moss versus Xavier Hutchinson. That, you can win that game as well. So you're going to have some opportunities one-on-one outside. You're not going to have a lot of just down the field rip-it throws, but you are going to have a lot of in-the-box kind of hook curl underneath the safeties type throws. So to me, offensively, they need to run the ball. I think they'll be able to run it for more than 50. It's not going to be like 200 yards, but it'll be more than 50 because I think they're going to be able to rip some chunk plays if they get a lead. But guys like Bramer and Knoll and Green, whoever's playing the slot, and then Jaden Higgins one-on-one, I think those are the guys that are going to have to be good. And Rocco has to protect the ball. He's been really good at doing that, but Rocco has to protect the ball.
I think I'm going to dive into like keys to win the game. Iowa State has to protect the ball. Iowa State has to win the turnover battle. I have felt like the last 3 or 4 times that Iowa State's lost, Iowa has not won the game. And I know I sound like a homer saying this. Iowa has not won the game. Iowa State has lost the game. Meaning,
like the Brock Purdy 4 interception game,
yeah,
or the fumble touchdown.
Yeah, like Breece Hall doesn't ever fumble, and he fumbles on his own 6, and Jack Campbell picks up, scoops and scores for a touchdown. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
or last year,
or the block punts 2 years ago.
Last year, Iowa State outplayed Iowa, but Iowa had pick 6, and that was the difference. So I think that's one big factor to win the game is taking care of the ball, winning the turnover margin. I think also special teams is huge too.
Because LeVar Woods is a good special teams coach. Iowa's always good at special teams.
They're big on their punt returner. I can't think of his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce that?
W-E-T.
Wetjen.
Yeah, Wetjen.
Wetjen. He had a return of like 17 yards and like 23 yards.
He had a touchdown that was called back.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
So they're high on him too, and they're always good on special teams. So again, I think Perkins and Gilbert need to do their job. We need to continue having touchbacks. I don't want them to see any kind of returns. But also conversely, we need to set up because they're gonna Iowa's thing every year. They're gonna bend don't break, bend don't break. Their offense won't move the ball, so we'll move it to the 50. They'll move it 10 yards, punt it. We're down in the 3, and
move it 25 yards, and then you got to punt it.
And now they have a short field, so we need to be able to, when they punt it and it's within our 15-yard line, return it.
Yeah, get 7, 8, 10, 12 yards. Doesn't have to be a touchdown, but get 7, 8, 10, 12 yards.
Catch every punt, at least.
Yes, catch every punt, especially because this kid's not Tory Taylor.
He's not, and he didn't have
to be fair, no one is. Like, he is an average to good punter. Tory Taylor is legendary.
They are saying he could be better than Tory Taylor.
No, he's freaking not.
But that is like, they said before even the first game, the kid had 2 punts over 40 yards. The rest were between 33 and 38.
That's not great.
Jeff,
that's an average.
I was hitting punts further than that in high school.
Like, so was I.
And I was not.
I averaged 38.3.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Jeff Woody basically is Reese Dyken.
Same.
I also think too that our offensive line needs to be. They need to protect Rocco. I mean, he cannot be getting sacked. He can't be getting hit, and their front seven's nasty.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, this is a strength versus strength. Quote, weakness versus weakness, or unproven versus unproven.
Our offense, their defense.
Yep. Iowa State's offense is really, really good. Iowa's defense is really, really good. Iowa's offense is at best a question mark.
Stop. They're bad.
That's why I said at best. You put up 34 points and a half. They're not. They're better than they were last year. But that's also such a low bar to clear.
Do you think they'll put up 34 points in a game the rest of the year?
I don't know who they play, but they could play some like
schedule, but I doubt it.
Like UCLA. They could put up 34 points against UCLA.
I don't think they will. 24 max.
But Iowa State's defense is also, I think they're better than they showed against North Dakota, but are they the dominant team we've seen in the last 5 or 10 years? Maybe. I don't know. There's not enough sample size to judge. But there's question mark of Iowa's offense versus question mark of Iowa State's defense, and then strength of the team. Iowa State's offense, strength of the team, Iowa's defense. So it is one of those games, like, to simplify it, I think the key to me is who shoots themselves in the foot less. Because this is such, I mean, if you were to look at like the NCAA 25 rankings, these teams are probably both like B plus A minus teams that are just inverses of each other, offense, defense, whatever. Total overall of what, I don't know what they're like, an 88 overall. Like, these two teams are basically the same. And so what happens then is turnovers, special teams, and then just operations and executing. Like, who does those things better? It's 3rd and 6. Can you convert that 3rd and 6? That whoever does more of that wins the game. Turnovers, special teams, executing and converting. I don't see this game going too far blown out in any direction. This is going to be another tense, sit on the edge of your couch, scream at the TV a little bit game.
I think it's going to be like a 16-13 type game.
If it's 16-13, I think Iowa wins. If the game gets into the 20s, Iowa State wins.
Iowa State wins. Yeah, obviously, the more points that are scored, I like Iowa State better. It's easier said than done. Iowa's defense is good. Surprisingly, it seems like they didn't really miss DeJean last week.
They are not playing much. Like, Wheatgen is fine, but like, I think there's a big difference between the coverage units on FCS programs and the coverage units in the FBS programs, and especially the better ones, because you're getting your second free safety to be the guy that covers.
That's also hard for me about these week 1 games. And they say the most improvement comes from week 1 to week 2, but I felt like these games are almost like a glorified scrimmage. Like I said, Iowa State didn't really do much. Iowa did a bunch. So like, how much can you take away from both games? I don't know. Am I confident in this game at all? No.
But you're not confident.
No, like
it's just we'll see.
I think Iowa will win because they have dominated the series. Campbell's 1-6 against them. It's in Iowa City, and Iowa State always finds a way to shoot themselves in the foot. But would I be surprised if Iowa State won? No. I mean, Iowa's only favored by 2.5.
And that's a home field, and I would imagine Kinnick's worth at least 3. Exactly. So this is a pick'em or Iowa State's favored. Iowa State's favored at Hilton, or excuse me, at Jack Trice, and it's a pick'em on a neutral field. So again, this is basically 2 identical teams.
Iowa State's going to win 17-16 on a last-second 52-yard field goal from Kyle Conradi. There it is.
You misspelled Colnedden. You mispronounced Colnedden.
Nope. Kyle Conradi. Dog.
I don't know. I
17-13.
I'm cool with it.
17-16.
17-16. Yeah, 17-16. I think if it's me, I would do as much as I could to formation Jaden Higgins into one-on-ones. If they're going to give it to you, he wins those matchups 8 times out of 10. Yeah. I don't care who you're playing. Yeah. So to me, I'm going to try and influence Iowa's defense because they are very predictable. If you came out with a formation right now, I could probably draw Iowa's defense because they haven't done anything different for 20 years. They've been really good the entire time that Kirk Ferentz has been there. So if you know what you're going to get, if you can formation into a way where maybe if you go 3 wide receivers to the boundary, so if the ball's in the right hash, you put 3 wide receivers on the right or 3 bodies, whether it's tight end, 2 tight ends, doesn't matter. Just 3 guys to the boundary and Jaden Higgins way to the field. Maybe that means they keep their 2 safeties more towards where those tight ends are or towards the bodies, and you have basically a one-on-one at the corner. Call that. Get those formations to the point where you can get Higgins one-on-ones because I think there's nobody that can cover Jaden Higgins, at least on the schedule right now. I don't know how Travis Hunter's going to do as far as coverage, but like there's nobody that I can think of that is on Iowa State's schedule that's going to have the straight-up, lockdown, do what Cooper DeJean would do to somebody game. They don't have that.
Corners as well, yeah.
And they're both, I think they're relatively new.
I mean, like in the league, I don't know who the dogs are.
So to me, I'm going to formation as much as I can. So it's one-on-one.
Kansas has one, Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah. Is he still there?
I think so.
God damn. But formation, Higgins one-on-one, play underneath and be efficient with guys like Bramer or Knoll or Green or everybody underneath. Maybe it's Carson Hansen, like to play underneath and then just execute, keep everybody clean, keep it every turned over. I mean, I would be surprised, like I said, if this game goes too far funky in either direction. But I think Iowa State will be able to score more than they have in games past. So I'm going to say like a 24-ish for Iowa State, and then something like an upper teens, low 20s for Iowa. It's like 24-18 in a game that is super tense the entire time.
Interesting. Last thing I'll say here is I think this is a money game for Higgins. If
yeah.
If he does well here, NFL scouts, he'll be on the board. Also, I'll say in the national perspective, this is a huge game for college football playoff hopes and implications. So
yes,
and for the Big 12 in general.
For the Big 12 generally, and also Iowa State, they play North Dakota right away, got a dub. Now they're playing Iowa. If you win this, then you've got Arkansas State.
We got a bye, which comes at the perfect time because
right after
this team
Iowa.
is dead. Half the team is dead, so we need guys to come alive.
But then you have Iowa. If you were to come out of this game with a win, then you're 2-0, going into Arkansas State at home. Should be a W. Houston got smacked by UNLV.
Dude, and I saw that. I was like, what the hell's going down there?
And then it's Baylor, and it's at home, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Baylor's
I'm
at
going
home.
to that game.
So you've got a very good chance, if you get through this one, not looking too far forward, to likely be 4-0, should be 5-0 by the time you get through Baylor. That would be wild. This is a huge game for both Iowa State season, and also you're talking about for playoff implications. Penn State beat West Virginia. God damn it, West Virginia.
I'm not surprised, dude. I'm not big on West Virginia this year. We'll get into it.
Same. Also Virginia Tech. Matt Berry said Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt.
And Rice got Falika's Rice team
got smoked.
Yeah.
But if Iowa State beats Iowa, Iowa will likely be in the top half of the Big Ten, top probably 5 or 6 teams in the Big Ten. Iowa State will probably be in the top 4 or 5 teams in the Big 12. That would mean when you start getting into who's the second Big 12 team versus the 4th Big 10 team or whoever, that's a big.
Yeah.
It's just like Texas, Alabama last year, but for a different level. This is a big one for the conference and for Iowa State and their season. This is just don't want to put too much importance on it. It's a rivalry game, but it's big linchpin for the season. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. It just makes things way harder.
Yeah, if you lose, you just got to run the table. So no pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty big game. Last thing I'll say too is I think
you said last thing or last time.
Yeah, this is the last time.
The last time.
The last. Yeah, the last dance. And I think Iowa dropped. I think they dropped to the top 25, which doesn't matter. Rankings don't really matter right now. But I don't think Iowa's ranked anymore.
Why? They beat a team 40-0. Why did they drop out of the rankings?
Iowa. I think they did. I could be wrong.
Anyway,
check real quick here.
I'm excited for the game.
They still are. They're still 25th.
Yeah, they should be. There's nothing that they proved that they would make them drop. So if they thought they were 25th before, they would be 25th again.
Yeah, they'll drop out next week. So that's all I got. Anything you got?
Sames.
All right. Sweet. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening. And as always, remember, adopt. Don't shop.